Hi there, I'm Joe, and my parents left me in the streets when I was born. But I was picked up by a Mafia boss, and now they regret their decision. But first things first, shout out and credit to Zeno. Today's story is inspired by your title idea. Remember to post your new title ideas in the comments below. It needs to be an original story, something we haven't done already. Give a like to the ones you would like to see animated. For the most active members who create very popular titles, we will contact you to join a secret server on Discord to offer you behind-the-scenes access. For now, let's jump straight into today's thrilling story. I never knew my parents growing up. All I know was that they left me in a basket in an alley at the back of a restaurant one cold winter night. I would have died. I was still a baby. Only a day old, they tell me. Luckily, a boy named Salvino went out the back of the restaurant to take out the trash, and he heard me crying. He rushed into the restaurant, and within seconds, Salvino's mom, his dad, and all the diners who were having their Christmas dinner rushed out to look at the abandoned baby next to the dumpster. The only thing my parents left on me was a silver necklace with a locket shaped like a leaf and a photo inside it. The photo was ripped off, leaving only my face. But I could see someone was holding me in the photo. Her hand was holding me upright. Salvino's mom, Ava, took me, wrapped me in her scarf, and held me close. She cried and thanked the heavens. She had recently lost a child in childbirth. A boy, like me. And to her, at that moment, I was a sign. Abe, Salvino's dad, held his wife's arms and peered down at the tiny baby, which was me, and said aloud for everyone to hear, "It's a Christmas miracle!" And it really was. For me, anyway. I would have frozen to death if they hadn't found me. If Salvino hadn't been nice enough of a son to listen to his dad when he asked him to take the trash out. Abe and Ava took me in, and from the moment I could talk, I started calling them Mom and Dad. From the moment I could walk and read, they started bringing me into the restaurant. Everyone who went there loved seeing me. Mom and Dad always referred to me as their miracle baby, and I sort of became a mascot for the place. Guests would always ask if I was there before they were even seated, and I would teeter and totter from behind the counter as a toddler and hand the menus out to the customers. Sal was a great brother to me. He taught me things and took care of me when Mom and Dad were busy. He taught me games we would play to pass the time, and he gave me my first ever console. It was his, but he gave it to me one Christmas because he didn't have any money to buy me a gift. I thought it was the sweetest thing anyone's ever done for me. When I started going to school, I saw less and less of Dad. He was always away on what he called business trips, and Mom would always go with him. And I always wondered about that, because as far as I knew, his business was the restaurant. So why would he fly in and out of the country if his business was right here? Until one day, on the day I turned 12, Mom and Dad never returned. They were supposed to be home by 3 that afternoon for my party. The restaurant was full with all of our family friends and the loyal customers who wanted to celebrate my birthday with our family. But an hour rolled by, and a couple more, until all that was left at the restaurant were me, Sal, the chefs, and the waiters. But Mom and Dad never showed. Sal and I celebrated my birthday with the restaurant. It was fun still. Everyone who worked at the restaurant was basically family to Sal and I. But it just didn't feel right not to have Mom and Dad there. It felt ominous. Sal took me home and tucked me in that night, and he promised everything will be fine. It was the morning after when police knocked at our door and told us that Mom and Dad weren't coming back. Their plane had crashed in the ocean, and they couldn't find the bodies. I must have cried the whole day non-stop. I just couldn't believe it. I loved them very much. They gave me a new life, treated me as if I was their own son. And now, so suddenly, they were gone. Sal grew up that very moment. I saw it change him. One moment, he was a kid just like me. And the moment he accepted that Mom and Dad were gone, he became an adult. He took care of me. He ran the restaurant, And pretty soon, he was gone most of the time too, just like Mom and Dad were before. It was then that I found out what the real family business was. Our family was the head of a mafia organization, and Dad was away so frequently to deal with mafia business. Sal told me his enemies finally got to him and Mom, and that they were behind that plane crash. I started taking care of the restaurant at the tender age of 12. Meanwhile, Sal took control of our organization. 2 brothers doing 2 very different jobs. I learned to be a chef from our chefs, and I became the manager of the restaurant. And in a few years, our restaurant became even more famous than before, attracting all sorts of articles and media attention for the teenager chef who ran it. Sal didn't like that. The more attention I got, the more likely it was that people will look into our operation, and that could put our organization in hot water. So, I lay low. I quit the restaurant and put it in the hands of our head chef. That was when I started working alongside my brother. Little by little, Sal trained me to be his right-hand man. It's just you and me now, Joe. It's up to us to keep Dad's legacy going. I know. And I'll be here, bro. I'll protect you just as you saved me all those years ago. I'll make Mom and Dad proud. I trained in every deadly martial arts you could think of. Krav Maga, Kali, Kung Fu, Karate. I even tracked down the last living ninja in Japan and paid him millions just to train me. I became Sal's bodyguard. Whenever he would go meet with other mafia bosses or with the people who ran the city, I would be there, ready to kick people's butts if they needed kicking. Together, we traveled all around the world in a private jet that Dad left to us, making deals and collecting money from our various enterprises. And I quickly found out that the restaurant wasn't a simple restaurant at all. It was simply our headquarters and a safe house. One of the fridges was fake, and when you open its doors, it leads to a hole in the wall with stairs that go down to a basement I didn't even know existed. Everything was going well. I was Sal's right-hand man, and our operations were running smoothly. Until one day, when I was sent out on a mission downtown. An establishment that owed us a huge chunk of money was in trouble. Their business had failed 3 times, and every time, they borrowed money from us. And because they'd borrowed so much, when their business failed a 4th time, Sal no longer allowed them to borrow any more. And so, they borrowed from another place. Our rivals. And now, Sal wants me to shake them down. I knocked on the door, but there was no answer. I looked around the building, and I could clearly see that the lights were on. And I could hear people whispering. I knocked again. Again, no answer. I'm not gonna knock a 3rd time, I announced to the people who I knew were inside. With one click of my fingers, my men broke the door down with a battering ram, and they ran inside. There were screams. They brought me the people inside. One man what looked to be his wife and their daughter. I felt bad. The daughter looked really pretty, too. I wouldn't want to have to ruin her life for the sins of her parents. But the more I looked at them, the more they seemed familiar. Had I met them before? I knew you were in there. Why not just be nice and open the door, huh? And make it easier for you to kill us? Jeez! Nobody's gonna kill you, old man. I'm just here to collect. If you can't pay us back, you shouldn't really be borrowing from someone else. Much less our rivals. But now that you have some money, shouldn't you be paying us first? It's gone! What? The money, it's all gone! I see. Well, I'm not gonna kill you, but I'll have to take a finger. You know, teach you a lesson. No! No, please don't hurt my father! The girl was all flustered. Her hair was a mess and her cheeks were red from fear. But she was still very beautiful. I couldn't take my eyes off of her. Please don't hurt my husband! I'm sorry we left you all those years ago, but please, help us! I stood there, frozen. And then I saw what was around the woman's neck. I pulled it off of her and opened the locket. Inside was the rest of the picture. Her and the man who was kneeling before me. And to the right, the photo was ripped off. But I knew what used to be there. I didn't hurt them, but I took the girl as a hostage. I was so mad I almost had a crush on my own sister. I stormed into Sal's office and made my sister kneel before him. As soon as Sal saw who I brought, he panicked. You knew! You knew this whole time where they were and you didn't tell me? I didn't want to see you get hurt, Joe. Why didn't you tell me? I just told you! They were always pestering Mom and Dad for money. And even when they died, your parents kept coming here, threatening me. They're not good people, Joe. And I didn't want you to meet them because I knew they'd just use you. Ask your sister! The only reason I let them borrow money is so she could have a better life and leave them too! I found out that Sal was telling the truth. My biological sister, May, told me all about my parents, and how my dad basically treated her like a slave. Made her work all day long. I was glad I took her from them. I never returned her. From then on, she lived with us, and I had my men burn down their business. If that wasn't enough to tell them to stay away, I don't know what is. But if they ever come near me again, they'll regret they ever left me in that alley all those years ago.